quickly turned to deeper concern during the match's halftime. Instead of the usual sports commentary, the entire halftime show was a tribute to the wise and courageous leadership of Nestor Kirchner, a sign of the ongoing Argentine trauma of Peronism. To the untrained eye of a foreigner stumbling upon this spectacle, the tribute might have appeared as bordering on election propaganda for the incumbent president as successor to the Kirchner legacy. To the more discerning eye, there could be no ambiguity. The government had hijacked the most important domestic sports event to brand it as its own. It was as if a sitting president in the U.S. renamed the Super Bowl as a family tribute. La Copa Kirchner was hardly an isolated event in the process of government ingratiation with its base. In 2009, the Argentine government, under Cristina Kirchner, had nationalized the cable television stations that broadcast football matches in Argentina, the Fútbol para Todos, Soccer for All program, with the indisputable claim that soccer was the birthright of all Argentines. So by the time of the first broadcast of the Copa Kirchner, there was no doubt of the mass audience for the halftime tribute to Kirchner's legacy as president. A leading Argentine newspaper, La Nación, prompted a scandal by estimating that the Fútbol para Todos program amounted to hundreds of millions of dollars of free publicity for the incumbent Peronist ticket of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. Undeterred, the government then decreed that poorer Argentines may have need for new digital televisions to take advantage of the largesse, and then, only months before the 2012 presidential elections, decreed a new TVs for All program that subsidized purchases of new model televisions. Government largesse in an election year knew no bounds. It turned out that football was not the only legacy that the Kirchner administration could bestow on all Argentines. For the poor, suddenly there were the Beef for All subsidies inaugurated during the election year, and that was followed by the Dairy Products for All campaign. And to top it off, the program that in translation captures it all, the Pork for All initiative. Putting aside my reflections of the evening, as scheduled, I continued the next day to give a lecture to the Argentine Society of International Law on the use of drones and the legal dimensions of war against non-state actors. That was the consuming issue of the day for the U.S. and the Obama administration, and one that engaged much of my thinking. But the image of the halftime political tribute in the midst of an election campaign tugged at me. What are the limits of the use of executive power in a democracy? How can democracy ensure electoral accountability in the increasing world of executive domination? What happens when the executive dominates the legislature through partisan alignment, as argued in the American context by my colleagues Darrell Levinson and Richard Piltis, or simply through the accretion of unilateral administrative authority? Upon further reflection, I realized that this was not a new question for me. Encountering the use of great executive power to tilt the playing field of what remained formally an electoral democracy was an ongoing feature of the 21st century. I had dramatically encountered a similar set of issues only a few years earlier. In 2006, on the eve of Hugo Chávez's re-election as president of Venezuela, I found myself sneaking into a hotel room in Caracas for a meeting with the heads of the major opposition newspapers and television stations. I was in Venezuela to give some lectures on freedom of the press at the invitation of the State Department, a challenging tour given the virulent anti-Americanism of the regime. By the time I got to this hotel room, a newspaper site I was supposed to speak at had been blown up the night before, and things had been thrown in my face while lecturing at the University of Caracas. But that hotel meeting allowed me to understand the new